Hi everyone, it's Emily here from Peach Street Crafts, and today is episode 6 of my 2023 reading album. If you haven't seen the other episodes, my goal this year is to read 35 books. And I'm currently on book number 17, and I am just going through and documenting all of the books that I've read this year, writing little reviews like you can see me doing on this tag, rating them with stars, and just kind of talking to you guys about what I read and trying to match these little album spreads to some of the elements of each book. So I read this one pretty recently. I can't remember what number it is on my list, but if you want, you guys can look in my description box below and you can check out my Goodreads there. I'll also link all of the previous episodes of this reading album in case you are interested in seeing some of the other books I've read. But this one is called Yes, Daddy, so it's kind of a strange title, and I'm sure that some of you guys probably already have ideas about what it's about, but I assure you it's nothing too crazy. This is a suspense / mystery sort of book, and I'll give you a quick synopsis and try not to give anything away. So the book starts off, the prologue, with the main character, Jonah, who is asked to be a witness in a trial against a man named Richard. Now, the man who is the victim here is one of Jonah's friends and somebody who helped him out a lot whenever he was also in a time of trouble. So the least that Jonah feels like doing is, being a witness to testify against this man named Richard. However, once he gets up there on the witness stand, he freaks out and says that Richard did nothing wrong, that Richard is a great person and that he would never hurt anybody, which then calls for the whole case to be thrown out and dismissed. It also ruins his relationship with the friend who was the victim. So that is how the book starts off, and then that is the prologue, and then chapter 1, everything works backwards from that moment. So in chapter 1, you learn who Jonah is, why he's in New York, and he really wants to be a writer, a playwright, and he kind of sets up the potential himself, takes it into his own hands, and makes this kind of fake meeting with a really popular playwright named Richard, who is another kind of main character. He's an older man. He's an older gay man, and so Jonah plans to kind of seduce Richard and be able to, I think at first he kind of wanted to take advantage of Richard to get his own name out there, to get some advice from Richard on how he could be a successful playwright, but then it really does turn into a little bit of a romance and they become lovers. Jonah goes to Richard's house in the Hamptons with a bunch of other celebrities and these big parties that Richard throws, as well as his other friends that live nearby in the same neighborhood. But then things start to get weird when Jonah notices that all of Richard's and the other celebrities' wait staff are all gay men, young gay men, who look a lot like Jonah. And these men have bruises and markings, scratches, all kinds of stuff, which at first, Jonah doesn't think too much about. He is just kind of happy to be there. But then things kind of take a turn for the worst, and Jonah ends up in a weird dungeon-like basement where strange things are happening all around him. So this book is not for the faint of heart. Obviously, it does have some horror elements to it. And from that point on, I don't want to spoil anything else, but Jonah realizes the truth of the situation that he's in, finds himself in a very unfortunate predicament, and has no one there to help him because his family has kind of disowned him. So yeah, and that was a really good book. I found this one through Goodreads. It's actually new. It just recently came out. And I had added it to my list a while ago, and then I was looking for a new book to read on Libby. If you guys don't know what Libby is, you should definitely check it out. It works through all of the public libraries in the U.S., and you're able to get free audiobooks and free ebooks as long as you have a library card. So it's really amazing and saved me and my husband and my sister a lot of money because we can all kind of share the app. But they had this one on Libby. They had the ebook and the audiobook. So I kind of listened to it, and then I would read it when I wasn't in the car. And yeah, I really did enjoy it. I thought I might not have liked it as much because it was kind of a different concept for me. I'm not super into mysteries and thrillers and things like that, but there's so much depth to the book. There's really a lot that happens, and there's he even wrestles with like religion and, you know, family dynamics and relationships, like queer issues and the way that people are treated when they are a minority. So there was just a lot to it, and I really did enjoy it. So you can probably see that whenever I wrote my review at the beginning. So now I am on to the next read, the one that I read. I actually read this one at the same time as the other one, and this one is also about a gay man. This one is a memoir by Ocean Vuong, and it's called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. He is an amazing writer. I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard of him if you're a reader. He does a lot of poetry as well. And this one is his memoir, and it's all about, at first it starts off, part one is about his relationship to his mother, and this whole story is actually a letter to his mother, like things that he wanted to tell her about his own life and some of the things that she didn't realize or understand because of the trauma that she had been through herself. So he just kind of goes through, and at first is talking about his family history. His family had come from Vietnam and had endured a lot. And, you know, there's that generational trauma there of like the things that his grandmother had been through on top of what her mother and her siblings had gone through. And so that's how the book starts off. There's also a lot of history to it, which is really interesting. And then in part 2 and 3, it gets a little bit more personal. He talks about a relationship that he had with a friend that he had growing up, and how that relationship was kind of toxic in a way, but at the time, like, you know, he didn't really understand that. There were some drugs involved, and the person that he was with, like, he felt really special when he was with that person, but they weren't the best thing for each other. I don't want to say too much after that because I don't want to spoil anything, but it is a really, really good read. I will say it was a little bit confusing at first. It jumps times a lot, so you'll think that he's talking about his childhood when really he's talking about something that happened in adulthood, or something that happened to his mom when she was a child, like a memory from his mother that he had gotten passed down to him. And so it can be a little bit confusing at times, but once you get to part 2, it's really good. It makes a lot more sense, and it's easier to follow. So you kind of just have to hang in there until that point. But obviously he is a poet, so the book and the writing itself are very poetic, very beautifully done, which leads me to this spread right here that I'm making, or this little 3x4 card. I'm going to be adding a quote page. I do this if I really enjoyed the writing from the book, if there was something specific that I got out of it that I really enjoyed. So that's what I'm doing here. And I already had another 3x4 card that had some, you know, information about how I liked the book and stuff. So tried to make this one a little bit different, and I wanted to make like a little banner bunting sort of thing. Once I added on there, I really didn't like it as much anymore. I thought it was just too plain. And sorry if you can hear the thunder. It's a very rainy day. So what I did was I just made the same banner, but I switched it out for a different color of cardstock. I went for this light blue since I figured I could still write with black pen on top of it and it would show up just fine, but it was a little less boring than just the white, plain white paper. So I did the same thing here. I'm just using my pen to make like a little sewing pattern and give it, just kind of make it pop off the page a little bit, and separate it from that really busy background. So now what I'm going to do is just go on to Goodreads and look at a lot of the popular quotes from the book. I didn't have the book with me at the time I was filming. I did highlight a lot of stuff throughout, but I figured it'd be easy here to just look at a compilation of all of the popular ones. And as you can see, a lot of them are really long. I didn't have that much space to work with, so I was kind of limited by that, but I really like this one that I chose. It says, "Too much joy, I swear, is lost in our desperation to keep it." And I think that does a great job representing the book. I really connected to this quote as well. It's kind of saying how sometimes we want joy to stay so badly that we just hold on to things that we love and don't ever go out and look for new things that could bring us a lot of joy as well, right? Because we're so used to the things that we have and we don't want to lose it. We don't want the chance of having that go away because we're out seeking something else. So I really liked that. However, once I went ahead and taped it on without really paying attention to the fact I did have other embellishments I was adding. So I just ended up moving that banner to the side, and I'll end up using that on something else, I'm sure, and finishing it off with some enamel dots, and then giving you guys kind of like a final look at the spreads that we made this time around. So I hope that you guys enjoyed episode 6. I am really loving this series. I have a couple more before I'm completely caught up for the year, and then of course we'll continue to make more episodes as the year progresses. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!